So in this week's video, super simple. Here are 3 transitions that you can use in camera. Doesn't matter what camera you have, that you can use to transition from one clip A, to clip B. Because let's be honest here, using cross dissolve all the time does get a little boring or dip to black, and it's always cool to know tips and tricks for your camera. And yes, this also works for your Nikon, your Canon, your Sony, whatever. And a lot of people call these motion blur or camera whips, but if you know these, it's good to use to spice up your videos, spice up your vlogs, and all you really need to do is have any camera. And what you want to do is you want to point down and you want to whip it up. And then in your second shot that you're filming, you want to make sure you have it pointing up and then you whip it back down. And that is transition number 1. Transition number 2, what you want to do is you want to hold your camera to the right and whip it to the left. And then you have your second shot environment that you're in, and then you have it to the left and you whip it to the right and you have it back down in the middle again. And the very last transition you want to do is you want to have it diagonally, doesn't matter what corner, whip it down, and you whip it back up. And from, I guess, an external perspective, you're like, oh, that's kind of lame. There's nothing cool about that. But essentially what you're doing is when you whip the camera, you're essentially having motion blur and you're rolling shutter. So then essentially when you whip the camera, you're gonna have a motion blur. And once you see that motion blur, you wanna cut it. So then once you have your second motion blur, the second time you whipped it up, so then it looks like one seamless motion. And that is a really smooth way to transition into shots without having to use post-production or some kind of effect onto your clip. All you're essentially doing is splitting clip A into clip B, and you're having these motion blur effects made in camera. And those are 3 ways that I use to spice up things like your video logs, your vlogs, your videos. I don't personally use them for like professional work, but it's cool to know to have a lot of in-camera tricks that you can use. And you want to see a bonus tip? While you're filming your DSLR, you can actually take off the lens. You can actually take off the lens right now, as you can see. And if I put my lens on top of it, you can actually see that I'm still here, but my lens is detached from it. And that's another bonus in-body camera trick that you can use for any kind of special effects, and you can play around with that. And those were my 3 transitions, plus a bonus one that you can use for your videos. You can spice it up for your videos, your vlogs. I personally don't use them professionally, but it's cool to know these tips and tricks so you can play around with them. Because that's, as a videographer, as an aspiring filmmaker, that's how we get better. You experiment and you constantly push yourself. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective. My name is Peter. We all start with nothing, but you can always create something.